Open a book, discover the world. We can read together, explore with me. The adventure begins, the words come alive. There's so much to choose, come read with me. Read with me. Read with me. Read with me.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this episode of Read, Explore, Ask, and Discover. My name is Whitney Rivard, and I am here with Alex and Alejandro, and we're going to be talking about butterflies and making butterfly feeders today. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're making first. This is a simple butterfly feeder that I made from recycled materials and then added the beads and everything to add interest, okay? So you can hang it from a tree or anywhere outside so the butterflies can land and get some nice food. On the bottom here, we are going to put in the 4 stages of a butterfly's life. And today we're going to be mostly talking about butterfly metamorphosis. Have you ever heard that word before?
No.
No? All right. Well, metamorphosis is a change that takes place from when the butterfly is a caterpillar and then turns into the beautiful butterfly. So, first off, have you guys ever talked about how caterpillars change like that?
Not really, no.
It's kind of crazy though, right? You've got this little worm-like caterpillar that changes into a butterfly that flies around and is so beautiful. Have you ever wondered about like how that happens?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, well good, because I'm going to tell you. So first, your butterfly starts off as an egg, right? And these eggs are a little crazy because they're no bigger than like a grain of sand. Can you imagine that? Like they're tiny. So here are a bunch of examples of what butterfly eggs can look like. So the mama butterfly will fly around and she finds just the right leaf because she knows exactly what her baby butterfly or what her baby caterpillars are going to want to eat when they hatch. Okay? So she finds just the right leaf with just the right amount of space that all her babies will get enough food. And then she lays her eggs. And there they're going to sit for about a week. After the egg hatches, it eats its shell. The little larva eats its shell. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Right? So it'll eat its shell, and then it moves on to eat the entire leaf it sits on, and it keeps going and going and going like that. So that's going to be the first part of our project. If you guys want to choose a dark color to make the cross areas, so that way we can make our sections for our butterfly feeders. Okay, can you guys do that for me? Just 2 lines, cutting it in 4 places. Good job. Oh, you might need a different marker. How about that one? There we go. And then choose one of them and make an egg. I chose to do this kind of egg. Do you guys want to look at what the other eggs look like again? Let's see. Just they're like little bowls or discs. And some of them look like little strings. See that? I chose to do this kind. Do you want to draw an egg in one of them? You can use any color you want. Nice eggs, guys. And then I wrote on mine, number 1, egg. So I would remember what all the stages of a caterpillar to butterfly look like. Good job, guys. All right. So then I'm going to talk to you guys about how awesome caterpillars are, because all this time I just thought, they walk around, they don't really do anything cool. But caterpillars are pretty awesome. So while I'm talking about it, if you guys want to go ahead and use all the colors you want and draw a caterpillar in your next little triangle there. So, like I said, they eat their eggshells pretty weird. But then they just keep eating. Like, I'm sure you guys have read the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Well, they're so hungry because after only 1 week, they go from being little teeny tiny larvas to the big caterpillars that you see everywhere, right? So they eat and they eat and they eat and they eat. And because they grow so fast, they shed their skin like snakes. So they have the hard shells of skin that they just leave behind. Eventually, though, they will shed their last skin and become a chrysalis, but we'll get to that. So, while it's a caterpillar, it has to eat a lot of leaves, right? But how are they going to stick to all the leaves and avoid predators because they're just a helpless little caterpillar? They make this silk that comes from these glands that they have up by their mouth, right? And it's kind of like a spiderweb silk, and it helps them stick to the leaf. But on top of that, they also have 6 legs, like every other insect, that help them Velcro to the leaves, right? Their pads are really sticky on their feet, as well as 10 little prolegs is what they're called, that help them grasp things. They're like little claspers. So I'm sure you've seen caterpillars that have what looks like a lot of legs, but really they only have 6, like every other insect. They just have those claspers that look like legs, and they act like almost like arms, so they can bear hug their food or hold onto the twig really tight so they don't fall off. It's pretty neat. Caterpillars also breathe through their body. They don't breathe through their mouth like we do. They have spiracles on their sides that open up, and they like act like little breathing holes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They just let the oxygen right into their body. My mind was blown when I read that. I don't know about you, but most caterpillars are also really picky about their food. So even though they have to eat a whole bunch, they're really particular about what they want to eat. And some caterpillars will just eat anything, but most, you have to feed them specific leaves. So if you ever catch a caterpillar and want to watch it transform into a butterfly, do your research and make sure you get the right kind of leaf that that kind of caterpillar will eat, okay? Otherwise you're going to starve it, and nobody wants that. All right. So another thing about caterpillars is that they are seemingly harmless, right? They're just little caterpillars crawling around, but they're not. They have a lot of defense mechanisms to avoid predators, okay? So one of them, which is pretty common, I'm sure you've seen monarch butterflies before. That's the kind of butterfly I drew with the orange and the black. They, when they're caterpillars, are poisonous to birds. So if a bird eats them, they get sick and then never want to eat another monarch butterfly caterpillar again, right? That's pretty common in a lot of caterpillar types, or some of them will spit out this poisonous ooze, right? It's orange or it's really yucky, and that makes their predators want to go away. They also have little stingers. I can show you those little stingers too. This caterpillar right here has a bunch of them. Do you see all the thorns on his sides? And a lot of times those stingers will help them attack the prey, okay? Most commonly, though, they just camouflage. Like this guy, you can barely see him on the bark, right? Yeah, so they just stay camouflaged, so that way they just don't even get seen at all. Or underneath their very brightly colored wings, it's just brown. So that way, if they're flying through the air and a bird spots them, they can close their wings and fall to the ground like a leaf. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
The coolest things about butterflies, though, is that some of them have bodyguards. Not even kidding, right? So there's a certain type of caterpillar that oozes this sweet nectar, like a sweet drink, that ants go crazy for. So the ants will feed off of that sweet drink that the caterpillar lets out, and then if the caterpillar's ever in trouble, the ants come in and just attack whatever is trying to attack the butterfly, or the caterpillar, I'm sorry. Yeah, isn't that really neat?
Yeah.
I had no idea. And then even beyond that, that same caterpillar can make a crunching noise or even like a little singing noise, which will call the ants to its aid if it's ever in trouble. How cool is that? But caterpillars are way cooler than I thought they were. What do you think this is? What does that look like? Does it look like a snake?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's actually a caterpillar. It's another defense mechanism that the caterpillar has, because if I'm going to eat a caterpillar, I'm probably a predator, right? I want to eat the caterpillar. But most things that are going to try to eat caterpillars are not going to take on a snake, right? So there's a certain type of caterpillar that can transform itself and make it look like a snake, and it'll even twist and turn its body so it looks like the snake is slithering through. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Caterpillars are way cool. All right, I could talk about caterpillars forever, but we got to move on to the transition part where they go into their chrysalis and become a butterfly, from their little mean angry caterpillar to a butterfly. Okay, so if you guys want to go ahead and draw a chrysalis, I'll show you a picture so you're not completely lost here. Oh, I have it marked. There it is. All right, so here is what happens. The caterpillar gets really, really tired, and it stops eating because it's just too tired, can't go on anymore. And it crawls away and finds a really nice, quiet, safe place where it will either rest on a leaf or it'll spin a little pad of silk from the silk we were talking about that comes out of their glands in their mouth that it can hang from on a limb, okay? Now, if you look very closely, you can see where the caterpillar's skin is coming off and off and off until it finally just falls away, leaving a pupa, which will, the shell around the pupa will harden, it'll get really, really, really hard, and that's the chrysalis. So you can see my chrysalis here. I made mine hanging from a little limb like that. If you guys want to go ahead and draw those on yours.
So is it when a caterpillar is staying on the silk, it kind of looks like a bat?
Yeah, a little bit, like it's hanging from the tree. Yeah, good point. Something really incredible happens inside of here. It's that big word we were talking about, metamorphosis. That all takes place inside this chrysalis. So you can tell that a caterpillar and a butterfly look pretty different. Okay, so you're talking about a chubby caterpillar that turns into a slender, sleek, very elegant butterfly, right? That all takes place right in here. It kind of, what happens is body parts of the caterpillar that the butterfly doesn't need turn into like an ooze, right? Like a yucky ooze. And the rest of it forms the wings, and little buds grow out that make its new legs, because butterfly legs are very skinny versus the chunky caterpillar legs. Oh, you guys are doing awesome. Very good. So the pupa takes about 2 weeks to transform into the butterfly that it's going to become, okay? It just rests there, right? As long as it stays safe, it'll transform into the butterfly. Very good. Now, after the butterfly emerges from the chrysalis, it is pretty new to the world, right? I mean, can you imagine if you just went to sleep for 2 weeks and woke up with wings? What would you do, right? Like, that would be really scary, wouldn't it? And it's also, you know, it's all crumpled up inside that chrysalis. So when it comes out, the wings are all crumpled up and it can't really move very well. So the butterfly just takes a minute to rest and reacclimate, right?
And then it'll start flying.
And then it will. Yep, exactly. After about an hour of just sitting there and resting and letting its wings get used to what's going on, it'll try to take off and fly for the very first time. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah. Well, also, caterpillars don't see very well. Caterpillars really only see light and dark. But butterflies have incredible eyesight. They can see all kinds of beautiful colors, and so not only do they have wings for the first time, they can also see for the first time. So they see these bright, beautiful flowers all over the place, and they decide to land on one. Well, on the bottom of a butterfly's feet, it has taste buds. Like the taste buds on your tongue, it has them on the bottom of the feet, right? So, except it tastes like 200 times more than what we can. So it's really good, right? So it lands on these flowers, and it can tell that the nectar in the flower is really, really sweet. So then it's got this little tube-like tongue that uncurls and goes into the flower so it can drink the nectar. Now, butterflies they burn a lot of energy flying, right? So they have to drink a lot of nectar. But flowers only offer a very little bit. So they'll fly around from flower to flower to flower all day to keep refueling themselves.
So is it like a bee?
Yeah, kind of like a bee. Yep, absolutely. Another thing about what butterflies eat is that most butterflies stick to flowers and nectar. But some butterflies get really, really picky about what they want. Some butterflies only like certain flowers. Other butterflies feed on other things, like fruit juice, which is what our butterfly feeders are going to hold. We're going to put little pieces of, when you go home, you're going to put little pieces of fruit in your plate and hang it and see if you can get a butterfly. If you guys want to go ahead and start drawing your butterflies in your last one, that'd be great. And you can make it whatever kind of butterfly you want. We've got these butterflies here if you want to look at examples, or you can make one up in your head. The important thing to remember about a butterfly is that the wings are symmetrical. So whatever is on this side is the exact same on this side. Pretty neat, huh? I didn't tell you my favorite thing about what butterflies eat. It's really gross. Do you want to hear it? Some butterflies even eat dung. Do you know what that is? It's poop. Oh. Pretty gross, right? Those butterflies only live in Africa, though, so don't worry about it here. Oh, nice wings. Very cool. Once you guys are done with your butterflies, I'm going to have you turn your plates over, and then you can put some beads on the strings to add some color and some prettiness so butterflies will be attracted to your feeders, okay? Really cool too. Good job, guys. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the difference between butterflies and moths. Do you guys know the difference?
Yeah, we talked about it in class.
Did you? Okay. Well, what can you tell me about butterflies and moths?
That the moths look different than the butterfly.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what some of those differences are?
Furry.
Yeah, absolutely. Moths are really furry, like their antenna especially. Yeah, anything else? Do you remember anything else?
No.
Well, moths fly at night, right? Mm-hmm. You usually will only see them at night, whereas butterflies you see only during the day. In my life, I think I've only seen a butterfly at night one time, and I think it was a confused butterfly.
So is the moth lays eggs in soft places?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Moths do the same thing. Right. Now the major difference is that when metamorphosis takes place for a moth, it takes place inside a cocoon instead of inside a chrysalis. It doesn't shed its skin like that. It makes its own little habitat in order to change like that. Right? I'm going to show you guys some pictures here. This is a moth. This is a Luna moth. Do you want to know what's really cool about the Luna moth, other than the fact that it's beautiful and really big?
And the things kind of look like leaves, and this he kind of looks like a tree.
He does, doesn't he? The other thing that's really cool about a Luna moth, well, kind of cool, they don't eat. They don't eat anything. After it becomes a moth, it doesn't even have a mouth.
So when it's first a caterpillar, it eats a lot and then transforms. And then he doesn't need to go to get food.
Right. It lives off of the food that it eats when it's a caterpillar. The downside of that is that they only live for about a week. That part's sad. But they can't eat. So they have to eat a whole lot as a caterpillar, so that way they can live as long as possible. And then, also, the cool thing about the Luna moth is that it's about 4 inches long. Most butterflies, you've seen butterflies, they're little tiny, and most moths are the same way, right? But the Luna moth, the wingspan from here to here is about 4 inches. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's pretty big, right? That would fit in my hand. That's huge. I have big hands. Isn't that big? It's pretty neat. Are you guys ready to to do your beads? The bead part? You can go ahead and start if you're all done. Okay, so you have 4 strings there. Let's see. Yeah, good job. Just want to separate them out. And then you can put whatever color beads on there you want. I just did a few on each.
So some caterpillars don't have the same color, like if they're different.
Yeah. All caterpillars look different. Absolutely. There's a bunch of different pictures of caterpillars in here too. I have one.
Do I put beads in?
Mm-hmm. Yep, just put beads on your strings as much as you want or as few as you want. And then these are stickers too, and I can help you unpeel the back so we can stick them on here if you'd like. Do you want me to help you? It's kind of tricky. There you go.
Thanks.
You're welcome. One thing that's really cool about butterfly wings is that they are made up of hundreds and hundreds of little tiny scales, and each scale has a different color on it. So if you look really, really closely, do you see that? How it almost looks like snake skin? Yeah? Pretty neat, huh? That is a defense mechanism because each of those little tiny scales will fall off really, really easily. And so if it gets trapped in a spider web, which, let's face it, is a butterfly's worst nightmare, right? Because they're just flying along, they don't see it, and then all of a sudden, whack, they get hit in a spider web. Those scales will fall off really quickly so the butterfly can get away free. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Butterfly wings are also really strong and really resilient. So if a bird or any insect gets a hold of a butterfly wing, it'll put a hole, right? Like it'll make a hole in its wing or it'll take a big chunk out of it. But a butterfly can usually still fly away. Do you need some help with that one? Sometimes the strings get a little frayed at the top. There was one. This butterfly is pretty cool. Do you see its wings?
It's like glass.
Yeah, it's like glass. It's completely transparent. You see that?
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's unlike any other butterfly in that way. They're also very, very little. Oh, I like the yellow and orange. That looks really cool. Yeah, orange and blue? That's cool too. All right, guys, you're doing really, really great. Here, let me help you with that one. There we go. All right. We are almost out of time, so while you guys are finishing up, do you have any other questions about butterflies?
No.
Caterpillars?
No.
What was the coolest thing you learned about butterflies or caterpillars today?
They can turn backwards and look like a snake.
Pretty cool. Is that your favorite part too?
Yeah.
What about the ant bodyguards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. I'm sorry, I'm really excited about it. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up while you guys are finishing your projects. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of Read and learning all about caterpillars to butterflies.
Open a book, discover the world. We can read together, explore with me. The adventure begins, the words come alive. There's so much to choose, come read with